talk for me because it's different than talking about research. I actually get to talk about something else that I'm very passionate about, which is teaching science. In this past year, I served as a teaching assistant, and I've also taught in many different capacities in the past. So I'd like to share some of that, but also to try to encourage you guys to see that we, as MIT students, we all obviously enjoy math and science, or at least I hope you do. But I'd like you to see why science education is also very important. And I'm going to speak from the perspective of the United States because that's where I'm from. So other countries might be a little bit different in how they view science education. But I would like to talk about the US because that's what I'm familiar with. So before I start, I'd like to ask, raise your hand if you've served as a teaching assistant or taught in some capacity in the past. Okay. Raise your hand if you haven't yet, but you're going to at some point in your program. Okay, so we have people with some experience and some people without experience, but I think eventually all of you are going to teach in some capacity eventually. So I think this talk, I think you'll find that it's important. So I'd like to start with this nice chart because MIT's listed #1 on it, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, this is a ranking of, according to this ranking system, the top 10 universities in the world. And the ones I have in bold are American institutions. So you can see that half of the top 10 institutions are American universities. So I think it's natural to assume that because American schools consistently rank among the top universities, American students are probably among the top in STEM subjects, right? Well, let's look at student performance at the secondary level. This is the National Assessment of Educational Progress. This is middle school math, middle school science, and high school math. Blue is the 2003 to 2004 school year, and orange is 2007 to 2008. And you can see that according to our national standards, students aren't doing half bad. I mean, more than half are scoring proficient in math and science. High school's doing a bit better than middle school. So you would think, okay, we're not doing too bad. Maybe like at least a fifth of students are scoring below proficient. That's not too great. We want everyone to be proficient. But overall, okay, right? Let's compare us to global standards. Globally, we aren't doing so great. United States in math and in the program for International Student Assessment, which assess 15-year-olds in a variety of subjects, including there's reading and math and science and maybe another subject. But I'm looking just at math and science here. In math, we ranked 35th out of 44 countries, and in science, we ranked 23rd out of 44. So roughly middle or below average in both. And I feel like there's a disconnect, right? We have students flock here to the United States for college, but in secondary and elementary school, we're not doing so great. Why? And what can we do to improve that situation? So why should we care? I mean, obviously everyone in this room is good at math and science in some capacity. You're all MIT students, you all love science and math, and you've all gotten in. So I'm gonna assume you do well at it. But we can't just focus on us, we need to focus on society as a whole. And very few students as a whole major in STEM, even less finish. As you can see in my little figure on the right, you can see about 7.5% of students major in engineering, and maybe like 12.5% major in the natural sciences, even fewer finish. Yet STEM fields experience more than average job growth, 10.5% versus 5.2% from 2009 to 2015. So we definitely need more people in STEM, yet students aren't really majoring in it. But even more importantly, because not everyone wants to go into STEM, and we shouldn't necessarily encourage every single person in the world to go into STEM because we need other fields as well. More importantly, why should we care about STEM education? Because I've had students say this. So I've had students, I substitute taught high school for 3 years, and plenty of students have asked me or said to me, Ms. Fiebig, why should I care about algebra? I'm never going to use it in real life. Why should I care about chemistry? Why should I care about physics? I'm not going to use this. This isn't going to pertain to me. This isn't going to pertain to my work. I don't need to know this. I want to get out of school. And that breaks my heart, because even if your job necessarily isn't a math or a science job, you still use math in everyday life. The technology you use still relies on math and science principles. And it's just a good idea to have a basic background in that. More importantly, jobs use math and science. You might need math and science to obtain a career, like that you might not expect. So for example, a student might want to major in something in like the health fields or in animal sciences, and they think, oh, like I don't need math and science in real life. I'm never going to use this, and they don't care about it in high school, and then they apply to college and wait a minute, I need to take chemistry. I need to pass physics. I need to pass math. Oh, maybe I should have cared about that a little bit earlier. So I think it's important that early on we care more about education to encourage kids to work hard in it so that society has a basic math and science understanding. So whether they're going to pursue that field later on or not. There are two main reasons why, from my observations, why American students aren't really doing better in math and science. One is that education as a profession is not valued, and two, that teaching methods aren't really optimized to the student learning needs. So for the rest of this presentation, I'm going to discuss a little bit about both reasons. So first, education as a profession is not valued. And if you look at salaries of a teacher versus other fields you could go into in math and science, you can see there's a huge disparity. So a high school, so like for example, me, I'm a chemistry graduate student. If I had decided to become a high school teacher, I'd be making, as a median salary, about $58,000. Where if I decide to become a chemist, the median salary is $80,000. Which would I rather do? Most likely, most people are going to aim for a profession that has a higher salary. This means that people that are actually going into the science education field aren't doing it for the money, they're doing it for the satisfaction they get out of the job. And that means we are losing quality people in the math and sciences as teachers, and they're going into other professions. So this is a message from society that society doesn't really value education. I've seen this myself. Since like 5th grade, I wanted to be a teacher, and even in high school or middle school, like people would say, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'd say, oh, I want to be a teacher. And people would say, why would you want to do that? You could do so much better. And that breaks my heart, because it's true. Like, that's said a lot, I should say. A lot of people feel that way, and yeah, that just kind of shows you how society views education. Looking at some statistics about teachers, fewer students are majoring in education. There was a 3% decrease in education degrees from 2009 to 2014, and 1/3 to 1/2 of new teachers will leave the profession in the first 5 years of teaching. And some reasons cited for this include a poor working environment and lack of support from administrators, the bad behavior of students, and the workload. Because teaching, even though, yes, in America, teachers do get off in the summer, they're not really off. You're working during the school year, you're working after the school day ends, you're prepping lessons, you're grading homework. A lot of teachers are coaching, they're leading clubs and activities for students, so it's much more than just walking into a classroom and teaching a lesson a couple of times a day. There's a lot more prep work, there's a lot of other things. A lot of teachers will hold extra jobs in the summer because their pay isn't that great during the year, so they need to make up for it. And all of these factors together, the net result of that is stress and burnout, and people don't want to be in the field. Why would they want to be in this field when they can do something better, according to society? So fewer and fewer people desire to be teachers. So that concludes my first point, that education is not valued. The second point that I have as to why American students aren't doing better is that we need better teaching strategies. So I'd like to talk about some different teaching strategies that we can have to improve education of students. So one of these is to consider learning styles. You guys might have learned about learning styles in the past. There's a lot of different models for learning styles. I remember some very good teachers I've had at the beginning of the school year would talk about the learning styles, and so that we as students could be aware of them and what works best for us. So this model that you see here proposes 4 different main learning styles, and maybe you can see yourself in some of them. There's visual, auditory, read, write, and kinesthetic. Visual people, a lot of people say they're visual learners. Visual means that you need pictures, you need graphs, you need images to understand something. Someone who's auditory would prefer a presentation like I'm giving now, just hearing me talk. You get the most information from hearing something. If you're reading something, you tend to want to say it out loud. That helps you learn. A read-write person likes to read things like reading words on a slide and taking notes, or they'll read a paper and they'll take notes. Kinesthetic person likes to do demos, likes hands-on. They need to do something physically to understand it. And then, of course, a lot of people are mixed modal, so they use more than one type. For example, personally, I'm more visual and I'm more read-write. If I'm given a paper, I like to highlight it, I like to take notes. I've realized, especially in grad school, that I'm not an auditory learner, and that if someone's just talking to me, I will miss a lot of information. I need to see something, so I'm visual read-write. So as a teacher, it's important to incorporate multiple learning styles into a lesson. And some of the ways that you can do this are how I've already suggested. You can have demonstrations, you can have hands-on activities for the kinesthetic people. Lecturing is good for auditory people, having pictures and graphs is good for visual. So by combining all of these, you can make a lesson reach more than one type of student. In addition, we need to make teaching more student-centered versus teacher-centered. So this little cartoon kind of gives you an example of teacher-centered learning, which probably most of you have experienced, where you've got a teacher up lecturing and everyone's falling asleep. So it sounds like a lot of classes I've been to, especially early in the morning. And they're not very engaging to students. It's focusing more on the teacher spitting out knowledge at the students instead of getting the students actively engaged and thinking for themselves. So I'd like to present an example of a student-centered learning style that I have experienced. This is through my undergraduate institution, Rowan University, and they have a physics learning assistant program. You may or may not have heard of these types of programs, but the idea of these is that your class size is about 50 students. You have your professor and an LA, learning assistant, in the classroom together. The professor will lecture on a concept for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then immediately give group work with problems that are related to that concept. So the students will be working together on a problem, and then the learning assistant and the professor will go around and kind of assist. They'll do demos, they'll help the students think about the work. So then after some time, you all regroup as a whole class, go over the answer, make sure everyone understands, and then repeat the process. And then students are assigned homework individually. So the good things about this type of program include that you're getting students actively engaged immediately as they're presented with the concepts, so that they can immediately figure out, what did I understand, what do I still need help with. It also allows different types of students to work together, so you're having stronger students helping weaker students understand concepts. And this helps both the weaker students understand and also the stronger students reinforce concepts, because there's no better way to make sure that you fully understand something than if you are to teach it to someone else. Another thing that we can do to encourage students to go into the sciences is to reach out to younger generations. So I have a few photos of some things I've done in the past. At my church, in their vacation Bible school, I did science experiments with young students. So that's a good way to get elementary students interested by just doing like short demos with them, teaching them simple concepts. And it's really good to get to act engaged. Like you can see, I dressed up in a lab coat and wore goggles, even though the demo I was doing didn't really need that. It's just for a fact it makes kids interested and excited. The next thing, with the second picture from the left, the girl talking to the students in the classroom, that's from a program that I was in called the New Jersey Governor's STEM Scholars Program. And I worked with 4 high school students to develop an educational project that taught students in middle schools they taught them concepts of spectrophotometry and like physical chemistry kind of concepts. So this was fun, and we got to go to my elementary school, my 8th grade teacher's class, and we built this little colorimeter. It allows you to measure the concentration of dyes in solution using resistance. We got to present this to the kids and also did some other demos with them. And this was nice because a lot of students aren't really exposed to hardcore chemistry and physics early on, at least in my experience. Some things I've done while in graduate school include, we went to a high school this summer to do some demos with the chemistry classes there, and then I also participated in Science on Saturday, which MIT hosts several of these events throughout the year. I worked with a lab mate and we taught kids about fluorescence, which is another concept they might not have heard much about. So finally, I'd just like to end really quick with some tips for teaching. If you haven't taught already, some things you can do to be a better teacher. I think it's important that you're prepared. It's very difficult to walk into a class and kind of wing it. So you want to have a plan. You want to. Some teaching does allow for some spontaneity, but it's a good idea to have a strategy when you go in about what you want to cover. It's also very important to be enthusiastic. No one wants to be in a classroom where the teacher doesn't care. If the teacher doesn't care about the subject, why should you as the student care? So make sure that you show that you care. You need to be confident. Students will recognize if you're not confident in what you know. So make sure that you convey a sense of authority and confidence. You should be caring. One thing I realized this year, in the fall I was a teaching assistant for 511-2, which is general chemistry, and my class was entirely freshmen. And one thing I realized that more often I wasn't a teaching assistant, I was a mentor. Because you're helping students adjust to whatever period they are in their lives. And here, especially at MIT, it's a difficult adjustment to college. It's a culture shock. So a lot of times I was giving students advice about how to be better college students. So it's important as a teacher to realize that your students have a life outside of your class and that you want to kind of help them as much as you can. And then finally, you want to be a guide. You're not giving students the answer. You're trying to guide them toward the correct answer by teaching them how to think. Just some acknowledgements. I just listed some people that have made an impact in my educational career. The people in the PhysTEC program, Dr. Sauer was my college physics professor. She's now the dean of the College of Math and Science at Rowan. Drs. Laporta and Dr. Smith they help lead the PhysTEC program. Mr. Chestnut's also the leader of that program. He was my high school physics teacher, so I had the cool opportunity of having him as a teacher and then being able to work for him as a college junior and senior, so that was very nice. Some teachers that have made an influence on my life. My 5th grade language arts teacher, Mrs. Pfeffer, is the reason that I want to go into teaching. Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Sorbello were some influencing teachers, science teachers I had. And then, of course, my many, many students. I've taught a lot over the years, and I want to thank them. The pictures of my 511-2 recitation, that was a great class. So I'd like to end with this quote, is that from J.C. Penney, the greatest teacher I know is the job itself. So I hope that as you teach, you'll become more excited about education and making an influence on students' lives. Thank you.